in this assignment, we're going to learn how to create a very basic animation using Photoshop layers, and we're going to make it an animated GIF when we're done. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is just make this very simple one that you see here of this little person running. And there's a couple vocab words I need to get you to learn before we can start. So the first thing is a sprite. A sprite is just a series of pictures that are used for the animation. So you can see this one below. It has the character that's running in every position that it will be to make this animation. And basically all you're going to do is copy each one of those and put it on a different layer and then click a few buttons and then it will animate it. So the window that you need to use to do your animation is called the timeline panel in Photoshop. So you can see that that gives you each layer is a different frame in the animation. So there's a few things we'll need to learn here, but overall it's pretty easy. So let's get started in Photoshop. So here, the first thing you'll do is open up your sprite. This is the thing that I told you about, that's each character in a different position. And then we need to create the document that we're going to copy all these little pieces into. So let's go to File, New, and let's make your document just 220 pixels, 220 by 220, 72. Background contents doesn't matter because we're going to change that and say create. All right, so we have this little square here. We are going to first, let's open up our layers tab. If you don't have layers open, you can go to window and make sure you have layers. The other window that we're going to open eventually, I'll go ahead and tell you to open it, is called timeline. So let's go ahead and click on timeline, and you'll see that it put this thing at the very bottom of our window. Let's make a background first for our animation. So the first thing I want you to do is go to Layer, New Fill Layer, and choose Gradient. Layer, New Fill Layer, Gradient. And say OK. And it might default to this, but we are going to change that. So over here where it says Gradient, click that little arrow, and you can see it. You can open up all these folders here and pick colors that you like. All right, I am just going to pick this one. You can pick whatever one you want and say OK. By the way, if you decide to ever change it, you can just double click on it and you can go back in and change it. You can even use custom colors down here at the bottom, but we're going to keep this simple for now. The next thing I want you to do before we start copying our sprite in here is to just type your name in the bottom right corner. So go ahead and do that. Just can be really small. We'll put that right there. It looks a little pixelated because we're just making this a small file. Let's go to our sprite, and you're going to get the lasso tool. So that's the third tool in your toolbar. If you click and hold, it might default to this here, but click and hold that and find lasso. And basically the lasso tool lets you just make a freeform selection. So I'm just going to loosely draw around this first character. So remember that the checkerboard means it's transparent. So when I'm drawing a circle around here, I'm not selecting any of these checkerboards. I'm only selecting what's inside the little shape I made. So I have this first character position selected. I'm going to do Control C to copy it. And then let's go to my file that I'm making and do Control V. All right, so you can see it put that in a layer. I'm just going to turn that layer off for now and go back to my sprite and do Control D to deselect that. And then we're going to select the next one. So get your lasso tool and just draw a circle around there. You don't need to sit here and go like really close to the edge or anything like that. It doesn't matter because the checkerboard means there's nothing there anyway. So long as you get the whole thing. If you accidentally don't get part of the drawing like this, you can also just hold the Shift key and go back and add to that selection. All right, so let's copy that, Control C, and go over here and do Control V and copy that next position on a different layer. And then continue to do the same thing. Control D to deselect, get your lasso tool, draw a selection around the third character, paste it in, turn that layer off, go back to your sprite, Control D, make the selection of the fourth position, copy it, paste it, hide it, Go back to the sprite, do Control D, copy your fifth one, Control C, Control V, turn that layer off, go back to your sprite, do Control D, and then let's get the last position, Control C, and now we're done with the sprite. We can just close that and then do Control V. So now you see we have all the layers of the sprite in here. You are going to turn all of them off except for the first one. So go back, turn all those off, and just have the first one turned on and your background layers, and that's it. And then you're going to come down here where it says create frame animation, and you want to click that. If you do not do that, your project will not work and you'll be making a different type of animation that we don't want. So make sure you click frame animation. If you have it correctly, you'll see a little box down here where it's showing that frame of the animation in the bottom left over here. So make sure that you are seeing that. The next thing you need to do is to make a new frame. So we have our first frame of our animation. We want to make another frame for the next thing. So you're going to go here where it says, whoops, go down here where the little plus is at the bottom. Click that plus. Now you see we have the second frame, but we want to turn that position off and turn that one on. So we want our second position to be the second frame. So keep doing that. Add your third frame, then turn off that and add the third position. Do that again. Plus for your fourth frame, turn that one off and turn on layer 4. Do that again. Click the plus to make your fifth frame and then turn on the fifth layer. Do it one more time. Click plus. You're going to turn off layer 5 and turn on layer 6. So now we have all the frames. We're ready to see what that looks like. You'll see right now it says 0 seconds. This is the time, so it is going to be really fast. If you click this play button, you can see that it plays really fast. If you want to change the speed, just hold the shift button on your keyboard and click all of the frames at once so that they're all selected. You can see that they turn gray. And then if you click and hold this, you can change the time. So let's say I try 0.2. You see that how it changed that to 0.2, and now when we play the animation, it goes slower. All right, so let's try changing the speed again. I'm going to click on layer 1, then shift click on layer 6 to get all of them. Then I'm going to click on that little time down there, and let's try 0.1 seconds and see how that looks. All right, so that looks pretty good. I want you to experiment with the different times so you can see how to change the time, because when you make a more advanced animation, you're going to want to change the time. All right, so we're ready to save this. So just go to File and say Save. And you can just call it Animation, PSD. And then you need to save it as a GIF file for it to be animated. So the next step would be to go to File, Export, Export As, and then go over here where it says PNG and choose the GIF. Right here, you can leave all that other stuff the same and say Export, Animation. I'm going to put that on my desktop. You guys are going to put on your student drive. And then when you open up that GIF, then it'll be your animation. And that's what you're going to turn in for this part of the assignment, is your first animated GIF, which is this character running with a gradient background and your name on it. And then for the next part of the assignment, we'll go over that later, but you're going to get more advanced. And here's one of our student animations that they made. We'll give you a sprite to do this Mario animation, and you can choose how you make it move, and we have a bunch of stuff you can add to it if you want to make yours more complex.